His short and talented life is probably an example of what happens when you don't make the right decision at the right time. This guy had tons of talent, but due to a series of unfortunate events, his life ended quite young. But his time as playing Gil Favor in Rawhide for a number of years made him at least a North American superstar, and he would have been an international superstar, but he turned down a certain movie that led to the Man with No Name success for Clint Eastwood. So today we're talking about the very talented and the very miss Eric Fleming. Now, born Edward Heddy Jr. in Santa Paula, California, was 22 years in the industry. Now, he was the only child of Mildred and Edward Heddy. Born with a club foot, he needed crutches to get around and was often severely beaten by his father. At the age of 8, he attempted to kill his father with a gun which jammed. He left home shortly after, first to LA and then to Chicago, where he lived roughly and associated with gangsters, doing odd jobs for them to make money. At the age of 11, after being wounded in a gunfight between some gangsters and hospitalized, he was returned home to his mother, who had recently divorced. Now, during the Depression, he dropped out of school and worked at various jobs, and he joined the Merchant Marine before joining the United States Navy in 1942 for the Second World War. He was a CB in the 88th Naval Construction Battalion as a carpenter. He served until 1945 and became a petty officer, second class. Unfortunately, he received severe facial injuries during a bet in which he attempted to lift a 200-pound weight and had to undergo extensive plastic surgery to reconstruct his forehead, nose, and jaw. It literally fell on him. Before this, Fleming had always thought being himself ugly and considered the incident a wonderful balance of values. After his facial reconstruction, he returned to Paramount Studios, where he'd been working as construction and worker, grip, and carpenter. He made a bet with an actor that he could do a better audition. He lost the bet, and it cost him $100, and I lost a lot of pride too, which hurt worse than the $100 I lost. Upon deciding that acting had cost him $100, and acting would get it back, he entered acting classes in the studio in the evenings. Now, Fleming's acting debut came in a road company production of Happy Birthday. He appeared on stage in Chicago in a number of successful Broadway plays, including the musical Plain and Fancy. He began acting in television shows about the same time, and he then moved to Hollywood and starred in several low-budget films, including Fright, Curse of the Undead, and a cult classic, Queen of Outer Space. Now, in 1958, the 6-foot, 3.5-inch Fleming landed the starring role as trail boss Gil Favor in Rawhide. Set in the 1860s, Rawhide portrayed the challenges faced by the men of the cattle drive from San Antonio to Sedalia, Missouri. Producer Charles Mackey Warren called on the diary written in 1866 by trail boss George C. Duffield to shape the character of Favor, who was a savvy, strong, and fair leader who persevered and got the job done. Now, the top-rated Western of its time, with co-stars Clint Eastwood, Sheb Wooley, and Paul Bringer, ran from 59 to 66 to high ratings in Canada and the States. Fleming and Eastwood more or less rotated in playing the lead from week to week, but the former was always billed first. Fleming also co-wrote 2 Rawhide scripts, Incidents of the Night in the Town, Season 3, Episode 29, and A Woman's Place, Season 4, Episode 25. Now, Fleming, Wooley, who played Trail Scout Pete Nolan, James Murdoch, Wishbone's clumsy meal assistant Mushy, Robert Cabal, Wrangler Jesus, and Rocky Shannon, Drover Joe Scarlett, were all dismissed by Ben Brady doing Rawhide's Summer 65 hiatus prior to shooting the 8th season. The recently installed 6th executive producer of Rawhide had been tasked with revitalizing the series and reversing declining ratings. Fleming boasted to the TV Guide that CBS fired me because they're paying me $1 million a year, which was only $220,000, but he was exaggerating. Now, with Eastwood promoted against his better judgment to Trail Boss, the cattle drive continued for 13 episodes before CBS chief William S. Paley preemptively axed that in December. Another cancellation factor, according to Eastwood, was that Rawhide had been the network's only show to get a rating on Friday night, so he switched us to Tuesday, opposite the show with the same type of male audience, Combat. ABC's gritty World War II drama starring Rick Jason and Vic Morrow drew the audience involving the Western Front. And of course, Eric turned down the role of the Man with No Name in 1964. Now, Fleming rebounded with a supporting role as Suave Spy in a glass-bottomed boat, a Doris Day comedy vehicle, and also guest starred in 3 episodes of the #1 rated family-themed NBC Western Bonanza, alongside Michael Landon and action director William Whiteday. Effective as the sadistic Weston and a titular peace officer from season 7, he was brought back by Sears creator David Dortort for the subsequent seasons to star as an honorable Mormon rancher, Heber Clausen, in The Pursuit, a two-parter exploring religious persecution and intolerance. The first installment was aired only 4 days after Fleming's accidental death. Now, Fleming had signed to star in High Jungle, a two-part episode of the short-lived Off to See the Wizard, also intended for theatrical distribution in Europe. 6 weeks into the location shoot in Peru, Fleming and co-star Nico Mederos were the dugout canoe that overturned in the Ulaga River. Mederos managed to swim to safety. Fleming, unfortunately, was swept away by the current and drowned on September 28, 1966, at the age of 41, leaving behind fiancée Lynn Garber. His body was recovered 3 days later. Production of the episode, and pretty well the series, was terminated. Now, selected for filmography include Curse of the Undead and The Glass Bottom Boat. On TV, Secret File USA, The Big Story, Phil Silver's 3 episodes, Suspicion, The Silent Service, Studio One, Flight, Rawhide, countless episodes, Bonanza, of course, in 66 and 67, and of course Off to See the Wizard, the High Jungle episode, which was shown, but again with some difficulty. Now, he was a Broadway actor as well. A very, again, handsome and talented guy. Now, I'm not sure if the what do you call, the reconstruction surgery was like Montgomery Clift was there. But actually, in there was an article in the St. Petersburg Times, October 1st, 1966, that talks about the drowning, and that made international news because he was that popular in among the Western fans. Now, if he would have lived, obviously it would have been quite interesting to see what his career would have been like. But I think Fleming, again, if you can hold your own in a Western with Clint Eastwood, it's more than safe. He could have done everything. Now, according to the article in the St. Petersburg Times, he drowned in a remote river in Peru's backcountry. Again, he was on location in the Tingo Maria area, 340 miles northwest of Lima, and our embassy spokesperson said. He's lost when his canoe capsized in a swift-flowing Ulaga River, and Fleming and co-star Anne Haywood, a British actress, and a film crew left Lima 2 weeks ago to travel by plane and canoe into remote areas of Peru's jungle. With Fleming in the canoe at the time of the incident was another actor, Nico Mederos, a Peruvian, who was able to swim to safety. Now, the film party had completed the first location scenes of the movie Selva Alta, High Jungle, which had been distributed by MGM. Fleming, after a decade of so-so success on Broadway, decided to head for the Isles of the Pacific, but Hollywood kept him around with a series of acting jobs, including the pilot film for Rawhide. The TV series ran for years and made him wealthy. Now, Fleming, again 6'4" and strongly built, was an ideal candidate for television stardom, and he found it in a long-running Rawhide series in which he starred with Clint Eastwood. Now, he claimed to be been an ugly child despite his handsomeness on the screen. Now, the change came when he was stationed with the Seabees in Seattle during World War II, and he was lifting a 200-pound steel counterweight on a dare, and he fell on his face. Plastic surgery provided the face, which millions of TV viewers recognize as Gil Favor on Rawhide. And as we like to say in the business, you never know what's going to happen. And he survived the weight on his face, but didn't survive the weight of the canoe throwing him over. Anyway, if he would have lived, who knows what he would have done. So that's the story of the great Eric Fleming, star of Rawhide. I know a lot of Rawhide fans listen to the channel. If you like what you're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share.